Billy Martin grew up on the family dairy farm in Pennsylvania, and from as early as he can remember, he wanted to be horseback. He started off by getting rides on the workhorses, but it wasn't long before he had one of his own.
My father did some work for a man. He was a carpenter and remodeler and what have, and the guy owed him some money and didn't have it and wanted to trade a pony out on what he owed him. So my father got that pony for $50, and that was the biggest thing I ever saw. I mean, I just loved that pony. Rode her from the time I was 5 years old on up until probably 10 or 12 before I could get a horse.
Billy loved the farm, but his father was eventually hired to work in the Baltimore shipyards during World War II.
As I was in high school, horses sort of left the program. I didn't really have any horses at that point, but I have some relatives that live in Montana and had a cattle ranch out there. And so in the spring and fall, when I could do it, I would go out there and help them gather and brand and do that cowboy stuff, and it was something that I really loved to do.
And while doing that cowboy stuff, Billy experienced something he never had while horseback.
And this horse had a feel about him that I had never felt on a horse before. Of course, I hadn't ridden very many horses at that time. But when you put him after a cow or something, he kind of knew where to go and what to do and how to hold that cow and move that cow. So when I went back to Maryland, I just couldn't wait to get a hold of a quarter horse that I could try to do something with cattle.
After high school, Billy went immediately to work in the construction industry, and his hard work paid off early. Soon, he owned his own business, working in Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Billy's love for the horses eventually led him to buy a pleasure horse, and after winning his first major event, the Washington, D.C. International Horse Show in the early 1960s, he saw cutting for the very first time.
And when I left there, I had just won the junior pleasure class, and I said to myself, I'm not going to ride any more pleasure horses. It's going to be cutting from here on out. So that's where it got started. That's where I really got started with cutting. And I went home and tried to make a cutting horse out of this pleasure horse, and he didn't want too much to do with that. But
there wasn't much cutting in the Northeast, so Billy started recruiting people in order to help it grow.
So I was trying to get interest started in the local area there. We finally had that Maryland Cutters thing going, and we've put on several shows, and some at my place and some at some other venues that were around there at that time. But there wasn't any indoor arenas or anything like that. I mean, everything was in the dust or the mud, one or the other.
It wasn't long before Billy learned about the NCHA fraternity, purchased a filly for $500, broke her, and started her on cattle using his grandfather's milk cows. But Billy knew he needed some help, so he looked to Texas to find it.
Matlock Rose was a big name at that time. And so I called him and told him my situation. And I asked him if he would take this horse and ride her for a while for me and maybe go down there and spend some time with him. And at that time, I wasn't making much money. I was just barely getting by. But I just made it a priority that I had to do that. And he said, come on down. So
Matlock rode the horse for 3 months before Billy picked it up. And on his next trip to Texas, he placed third in the non-pro fraternity, his first time at Will Rogers. And as time went on, he realized Texas was where they needed to be if he was going to grow his business in the cutting world.
I was making 2 or 3 trips a year just hauling mares down here and bringing them back, and it was quite a chore. And this is where all the big cuttings were. So what I really had in mind to do was to buy a place down here and bring the horses down and stay part of the year here and stay part of the year in Pennsylvania.
Well, that's not how it ended up. Billy and his wife Chris loved Texas so much they moved down full-time in 1998. They grew the ranch, which slowly led to one of Billy's greatest thrills.
To have a horse that you own that is by a stallion that you own and out of a mare that you own, that you have done well on both, the sire and the dam, and then to have that offspring be successful at Fort Worth in any event is really special. I mean, you just don't get any better.
But when looking back at their ranch name, which came from being established in 1972, Billy does have a slight regret.
I didn't think that one out very well when we called it the 72 Ranch, because that's a decent score in the cutting, but it's not one you'd want to hang on your door. So I'd have probably been better off to name it the 76 Ranch or something.
When it comes right down to it, much of Billy's success is based around what got him started in the first place, a love and respect for the horse.
There's a lot of people that are trainers, but to me, the horsemanship goes along with it. How you treat your horse, what you think of your horse. It's not just a machine, and that all means a lot to me also. The people that respect their horses and take care of them and manage them and train them and are successful with them. That's what it's all about to me.
Billy's been a finalist in 99 major limited age events, including 7 NCHA fraternities, has won 8 championships and 8 reserves. But even with this incredible success, Billy's greatest accomplishment is his dedication and the time he's given to the sport over the past 50 years. He helped start and has served as president-director for the East Coast and the Pennsylvania Cutting Horse Associations. He served as an Area 19 director for 20 years, director for the Augusta Fraternity for 30 years, director of the Breeders' Invitational, and has served on the NCHA Non-Pro Committee. In addition to that, he and Chris have hosted shows, clinics, and even have school kids come to the ranch so they can experience the horse.
I don't know that I did it more intentionally as just something that I did for myself as well as everybody else. I mean, I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it bigger, and I wanted to see it run right, and to where everybody had an opportunity. And I did it for the horses, I think, because I love the horses. I really love the horses, and my horses mean an awful lot to me, and the people mean a lot to me also. But to enjoy my horses, I had to have a place to go, and whether it was a small one or a big one, no matter what size cutting it was, I just wanted to see it as nice and as comfortable for people and horses as I could see it.
As a competitor, breeder, executive, and ambassador, Billy Martin's contribution to our sport has been tremendous. He's a worthy new addition to the Members Hall of Fame.
It's such an honor. I've been with these cutting horses and the cutting horse people for a long, long time. A lifetime, really. And it's difficult to say the respect that I have for these people and the horses that are involved with this sport that it's incomparable to other things. I just love it. And it's been a big part of my life for so long, and for these people to think that I'm special enough to be inducted into the Hall of Fame is just incredible to me. It really is.